Bitcoin opened the day yesterday at almost $95,000, dipped below $90,000, and then ended up closing the day right back where it started, leaving traders, investors, enthusiasts wondering, is the Bitcoin bottom in? Are we heading back up?
I think there's always going to be people who are going to buy Bitcoin every time it dips anything with bandwidth below 100K because they're going to assume it's going to go back to 100K at some point. So it almost becomes a self-fulfilling mean reversion trade. And that magnet actually gets stronger as Bitcoin goes even lower. So there's a wall of money. I call them kind of the folks that have always like a limit order, if you will, on the Bitcoin trade and their brokerage accounts that IBITs of the world now allow that. Presumably, those types of RI investors didn't exist.
I'm a technical trader at heart. And so when I see the V recoveries that we've seen the last two price dips, I think there's, like Jeff was mentioning, a pocket of money that needs exposure to Bitcoin. My question, always goes back to how many participants do we have now versus how many will we have? And I saw an article this morning talking about 2 potential executive orders being issued on day 1 of Trump's presidency, specifically relating to crypto. Look at the last, 3 or 4 drops. They've been single bars down. I mean, just like God candles to the downside. And then these recoveries that are just systematic buys, essentially. That bodes, in my opinion, well for positive price action. I'm not saying that it'll be immediate, but I am saying that when everyone in the administration is talking about executive orders and putting crypto front and center of the of kind of the campaign for the next 4 years, it's hard for me to believe that that's not going to have an overwhelming effect on people's participation.
We're also excited to have America's first crypto president. And yet, when I look at these news flows, the thing that I worry a little bit, the dynamic here is like, the SAB 121 repeal is almost not even a crypto issue. Scott, you kind of hinted at it, but it was actually just a bad due process with tons of things that hinge on illegality that should not have ever happened. There are some low-hanging fruits like this that I think we want to celebrate, but we really need to see more crypto-friendly agendas come through too. Like SAB 121 is basic. Accounting change with FASB is basic. Like those things are table stakes. What we really need is actually more clarity on whether people will be interested in stablecoin adoption bills.
Long-term, 4 years is an absolute eternity in crypto, all right? An absolute eternity. So if you have a massive paradigm shift as it relates to leaders to the different cabinet positions, the economic positions, and then a president that is pro Bitcoin, pro crypto. Again, just a reminder, the guy showed up at the Bitcoin conference. I mean, that still blows my mind.
There are certain companies that are young and millennial leaning, Gen Z leaning, that would benefit heavily from having the free publicity that comes from embracing Bitcoin. I think I saw yesterday there was like a distillery, a roll-up conglomerate type that adopted Bitcoin. Think about how much more booze they're going to sell to now people who love Bitcoin just because this company distinguished itself versus other InBevs of the world that they're not participating in the story. That kind of consumer loyalty, that fandom that comes from pre-branding by attaching yourself to the future is a financial one, but it's also a cultural one. And I think more companies have opened their eyes to that possibility that we're going to see not just failing companies, but also growing companies that are trying to find some arbitrage.
Jeff, that was brilliant insight, by the way. I don't hear much people talking about it, but what you're saying is absolutely true. And it's something, think about that dynamic that you just mentioned. Grows your top line while protects your downside. At the same time, one swing of the sword and you're getting benefit on top side and protection on bottom side. That there again, I don't think there's another lever on the board that has that type of action. And I think a lot of people are going to be interested in pulling the new lever.